So good morning, I'm Eleanor Dalloway, editor of Infosecurity magazine, joined today by the CEO of Context Information Security, Mark Raeburn. So firstly, Mark, for anyone unfamiliar with Context, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Yeah, gladly. So Context Information Security is 15 years old. We're a technical information security consultancy company. We provide security support and consultancy to a wide variety of companies, mainly FTSE 250, banking, government, legal, accountancy, law, so a wide variety of companies in mainly three different distinct areas. So incident response, when something has gone wrong, or information assurance, so effectively looking at security arrangements they've got in place and making sure they're up to the standard they expect, and identifying any areas that could be improved, and then doing research on new technologies and new issues like cloud computing and bring your own device, so making sure we understand what's coming next.
And at the end of 2012, Context was selected by the UK government to be part of their cyber incident response scheme. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, yes. So in November of last year, GCHQ announced a pilot scheme for incident response companies. The pilot was due to conclude last month, although it was extended, so it's now currently due to finish at the end of June. There are 4 companies that are currently on the pilot, and those companies are ones that have developed or demonstrated a capability of helping companies deal with compromises, and primarily what's referred to generically as APT. In real terms, state-sponsored espionage is the main driver, and Context has done worked with companies since 2005 to help them understand the problem set, identify the problem, and manage the aftermath.
And since then, the UK government have introduced new cybersecurity schemes like the incident response scheme, like the Information Sharing Partnership, Cybercrime Reduction Partnership Programme. Do you think the UK government is doing enough? And if not, what more should or could it be doing?
So that's an interesting question, and in my view, they're doing lots, and the initiatives you talked about are all very new, so yet to see how they work. I think that the core challenge is that the problem is difficult, and there is not going to be a solution to the problem in any real sense. So you can't buy a product that makes the problem go away. The biggest issue is awareness and making sure that corporates understand the risks that are represented by nation states with cyber capability, and the new, I guess you could call it arms race that's becoming a reality in cyber warfare, and corporates need to understand that while those threats have visited on governments and in the past and defence, they're far more prevalent now in commercial space, and espionage is a bigger problem, and it's not for everyone to worry about, but you certainly need to understand the threats, and if your organisation is such that has information that a nation state would be interested in, you need to take extra precautions and extra measures.
You mentioned there cyber warfare and cyber espionage. I mean, terms like electronic Cold War are being thrown around. How much of that is hype and how much of it is a very real reality?
Language is always a problem. It's not war, as in the general sense that people would understand it, but it's certainly a competition, if you like, between states and capabilities. And we, at Context, have worked with a number of very large organisations who certainly have had attacks mounted upon them that you could consider very hostile. I wouldn't necessarily use the word war, but certainly it's a conflict. And it's a battle, and it's for organisations to decide the extent to which they want to fight that battle, or at least to be aware that it's going on, and then take various precautions to minimise the damage.
And you mentioned pen testing as one part of your business, and
Indeed.
Certainly a part of your business that a lot of our readers are very interested in. In the successful penetration tests you carry out, and by successful I mean when you find the hole, how many of those incidents are down to technology failure and how many are due to a human element?
Again, the successful definition is an interesting one. Successful in our view is finding vulnerabilities that the company can then resolve before someone else does and does something less desirable with those things. In my experience, it's a combination of the two. Unfortunately, the most common is patching, or the absence of it.
Right.
So in many cases, things we find are arguably easily remediable. You can remediate from them. There is always, though, technical misconfiguration, sometimes poor hardening of a system, and it's infrastructure and applications that are applications where most of the problems lie.
And when you find these problems, how well do your customers take on board the advice they're given, and do you see a lot of remediation happening immediately?
For the most part, certainly. There is a maturity curve, and those that have been doing penetration testing for a while have got processes in their own systems to take an issue in one particular application, take the core issue out of that and apply that across the rest of their estate straight away. So they learn the lessons from one issue and apply those across the board. Others are perhaps less practiced at that, but certainly the more mature companies and the more that you do carry out the exercise, the more benefits you derive from it. There are also interesting statistics you can generate from the back end on which applications are coded particularly well, which aren't coded well. So where do you put your focus in terms of teaching your application developers or buying in your application from a third-party developer? Which ones are actually going to come with more security problems than others?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mark.
You're most welcome. Thank you.